getting bigger. It's gonna be okay.
You'll be okay, Jake. Don't worry. I'll get you taken care of.
Take care of him.
You'll be ready for the fight, Jake. Don't worry about it. You're gonna be a contender.
Oh God. Am I gonna be okay?
And I feel like 58, 27, the age is not a factor. That's a wash, right? Experience level obviously is going to go to Mike Tyson. But Jake's got a screw loose.
Jake Paul just got himself a one-way ticket to the hospital in what's being called a botched suicide attempt. Yep, failed miserably. The guy who swears he's untouchable thought he could skip his fate with some cheap theatrics, but little does he know his fate is sealed. Put it this from, hey listen, it was written. The so-called poison they found in his stomach? Harmless, a substance people take when they're panicking. Seems like Jake's getting ready to wet his pants with fear. All those hyped-up promos and fake confidence? Clearly crumbling. Jake's act is slipping, and he knows he's not fooling anyone anymore.
Listen, it was written. That's all I know is written. Millions of years before my bloodline was existed. It's written. And what do you think?
I think you look in pretty good shape. We've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I think
I
we'll
wonder
do
how
it.
you feel now compared to when you were fighting.
I feel I don't have to call people bad names. I feel really happy. It'll be a good thing.
And as a fighter, where are you?
Me? I'll be better by the time of the fight.
In your head? Are you the fighter that you were when you were the youngest heavyweight champion? Are you still that guy? Are you a different fighter, or do you still imagine you are what you were?
Well, no, I know, I never lied to myself, but I know I'm good enough.
The so-called poison they found in his stomach? Harmless, a substance people take when they're panicking? Seems like Jake's getting ready to wet his pants with fear. All those hyped-up promos and fake confidence? Clearly crumbling. Jake's act is slipping, and he knows he's not fooling anyone anymore. Jake Paul, the internet's favorite punching bag and wannabe tough guy, found himself in the most fitting, laughable scandal on November 8th, 2024. The self-proclaimed boxing star, the master trash talker, the walking ego with a YouTube channel, was discovered unconscious in his mansion. No, he wasn't knocked out by a real fighter, but by a chemical preservative, sodium nitrite to be exact. 15 grams of it, you can't make this up?
My friend's in there. It's an emergency.
Come on, Jake. We gotta get you on the journey. What's up, Jake?
Hey, man.
I don't know.
Hey, we're here, man.
I gotta. It's really bad, man. I'm freaking out.
Hey guys, this looks bad. We need to take it back to the DL.
Oh, thank you.
This ain't gonna work.
It's gonna be okay.
Oh,
Don't worry, we'll
right.
stabilize it.
oh.
Alright, let's do this.
All right, let's get him the gurney. Ready?
In typical Jake fashion, he turned what could have been a jaw-dropping dramatic finale into an absolute joke. The poison he ingested messed up his blood's oxygen-carrying ability, leaving him gasping and dropping like a failed TikTok stunt. But even in a moment of supposed life-or-death seriousness, Jake still found a way to look like a clown. The grand act of poisoning himself wasn't even successful. Doctors at the Cedars-Sinai saved him using methylene blue and oxygen therapy. Because, of course, Jake couldn't commit to anything properly, even a tragedy.
27, the age is not a factor. That's a wash, right? Experience level obviously is going to go to Mike Tyson. But Jake's got a screw loose.
Naturally, the news blew up. Social media erupted like a volcano of sarcasm, with memes popping up faster than Jake's desperate attempts to stay relevant. The internet had a field day. His fan base, clutching on to whatever scraps of dignity he had left, sobbed for their fallen hero, while the rest of us couldn't help but roll our eyes at the spectacle. Was this another one of his stunts? An Oscar-worthy bid for sympathy? Or perhaps a desperate ploy to escape the real nightmare looming over his head? A scheduled showdown with Mike Tyson on November 15th.
Jake Paul will be up against. He'll get teased for taking this fight, for one. He'll get teased for that. He'll work himself through that. But yeah, if he goes out there and cleans his clock, they're gonna come down on him.
Then came the investigation, peeling back the ridiculous layers of this saga. LAPD officers swept through his mansion, and guess what? No signs of forced entry, no masked intruders hiding in the shadows, nothing. What they found was a sloppy note scribbled by Jake himself, whining about pressure and expectations. Seriously? That's what you leave behind? If you're going to make headlines, at least go out with a bang, not a whimper.
It's gonna make money. You want me to say more than that? Is there a need to say more than that?
Oh, and the sodium nitrite purchase? Traced back to none other than Jake himself. Talk about leaving a digital footprint the size of a toddler's tantrum. Even experts couldn't help but shake their heads. Sodium nitrite is what you'd use to preserve meat, not make a name for yourself in boxing history. But hey, Jake never did have a great track record when it came to smart decisions. The doctors worked quickly to bring him back, and by the morning of November 9th, Jake Paul was awake and very much alive. Unfortunately for him, because his reputation had suffered a beating, even Tyson couldn't deliver. His entire tough guy persona shattered, and he was left looking like a frightened child who'd finally realized that playtime was over. His whole shtick, built around bravado and carefully crafted illusions, came crumbling down in a spectacular mess.
He can step on the wrong eggshell and let off a combination that can kill most people. No bull. He has the power and ability to shift organs in your body if he hits you with the right force, right? So I think he forgot more technique than Jake Paul has ever learned in his life.
And Tyson, the actual destroyer of souls with 50 wins, 44 of which are knockouts that sent his opponent straight into a realm of eternal regret. You know, a real fighter. Meanwhile, Jake's record, 10 wins, padded with opponents who were practically collecting Social Security or never had business being in a boxing ring.
Yeah, man, he's looking really, really good. I'm definitely a little bit crazy, and I'm definitely a little bit scared. You know, this is the toughest fight I've had to date against the most experienced opponent. It's at heavyweight, and Tyson's dropping people in sparring. He looks the best shape and the strongest he's ever been, is what his coaches are saying.
But Jake, ever the marketing genius, milked his match with Tyson for all it was worth. He posted hyped-up videos of himself sparring with heavyweights, trying to convince us he had any chance at all. The confidence was almost inspiring, if it wasn't so utterly laughable. The theories surrounding Jake Paul's latest hospital debacle are more outlandish than his career choices. One popular take? The whole thing was just a stunt, a desperate last-ditch attempt to sidestep his November 15th showdown with Mike Tyson. Because let's be honest, the pressure had him buckling like a cheap lawn chair. From day one, it was crystal clear that Jake had bitten off more than he could chew. All his obnoxious trash talk, endless hype videos, and social media flexing were nothing more than smoke and mirrors. Deep down, the guy knew he was toast. So when people suggest he orchestrated this poisoning just to avoid a royal beatdown, it's not exactly far-fetched. Manipulating the narrative is practically his hobby. If faking a near-death experience could buy him more time to avoid Tyson's fists, you bet he'd consider it.
Like, he's not fighting a MMA guy. He's not fighting a wrestler. He's not fighting an entertainer. He's fighting a boxer. I don't care how old the difference, the age gap is, he's fighting a boxer.
But fine, let's humor the alternative theory for a second. Maybe Jake really did try to check out of this world for real, consumed by actual personal struggles. Still, how tragically ironic is that? The big bad Jake Paul, who built his empire on fearless me bravado, couldn't handle the pressure he created for himself. It's almost comical. Tragic, yes, but still comical. Critics haven't been kind, nor should they be. Jake's getting called out for what he is, a loudmouth braggart who folds like a cheap tent when real pressure hits. Media outlets have been ripping apart his so-called mental strength, asking if he ever intended to stand toe-to-toe with Tyson in the first place. Talk is cheap, and Jake's proved he's got plenty of it. But when it's time to back it up, he crumbles like stale bread. Fans and haters alike are trapped in endless debates. Was this a meticulously planned ploy, or was Jake truly a broken man in need of help? The timing couldn't be sketchier, and it's all fueling the idea that Jake never intended to fight. Maybe he was always hunting for an exit, and this poisoning fiasco became his golden ticket. It's a circus, and Jake's the ringleader, performing an act that no one's buying anymore.
He's fighting the person, the one fighter that most people fear. And I feel like 58, 27, the age is not a factor. That's a wash, right? Experience level obviously is going to go to Mike Tyson. But Jake's got a screw loose.
This mess has cast a dark cloud over the upcoming fight, and everyone's feeling the tension. Will Jake even be fit, physically or mentally, to stand in that ring? Promoters are sweating bullets, terrified of rescheduling or worse, canceling the event. The supposed fight of the year is hanging by a thread, all because Jake Paul couldn't keep his ego and his anxieties in check. The fans, the money, the hype, it's all on the verge of crashing. Even Tyson, the legend we're all dying to see, has been dragged into this swirling nightmare. Speaking of Tyson, his reaction has been classically badass. He's not wasting his time on Jake's drama. Tyson is still laser-focused on the fight, ready to swing his fists as planned.
Hey, let's watch it, because it's one of my favorite fights to watch Tyson, because it's Tyson in his prime, where he was terrifying. He was so fast, and he would do angles, and he was bobbing and weaving. You couldn't hit him, and he was just
Sure, he's made some empathetic comments about mental health and the pressure athletes face, but let's not kid ourselves. Mike Tyson is a living wrecking ball, and his mind is set on one thing: winning. While Jake's drowning in drama, Tyson's over there, cool and composed, training like the pro he is. He knows the difference between showbiz and real combat, and trust me, he's prepared for the latter. And Jake shows how much he is regretting his decision of fighting Mike by saying, "Footage from Mike Tyson training camp has me contemplating life." Meanwhile, the boxing community is reeling. This whole episode has opened up a messy conversation about how athletes are treated, whether there's enough support for their mental health, and if the industry needs reform. But the irony is impossible to miss. Jake Paul, the self-declared king of the ring, has inadvertently become the poster child for everything wrong with the pressure culture he used to thrive on. There's talk of revising fight preparations and ensuring fighters are mentally stable. But let's be real. In a few months, Jake's debacle might just be another forgotten tabloid scandal. So what now, Jake? Will we see you on a Sob Story podcast talking about how fame is a burden, how the pressure is too much? Will you blame it on mental health struggles, hoping to get a redemption arc? It's hard to sympathize when you've made a career out of taunting people, belittling your opponents, and stacking your resume with joke fights. You couldn't even get your self-sabotage right, and that's about as Jake Paul as it gets. One thing's for sure, this guy's greatest opponent isn't any boxer, it's his own tragic sense of showmanship. Jake, November 15th is looming, and there's no backing out now. Whatever happens, the world is waiting, either to watch you get pummeled or pull off another miraculous stunt to dodge your fate. Either way, you've made your bed and now you've got to lie in it.